Oh, nice. The customer must have brought it in last night. Let's see what a Glock 40 looks like. Why didn't they call us a 41? Hey man, the customer brought this in last night. We bought it. We got it for a decent price. I'm not really sure what type of customer to market this to. It's too big for any realistic application except for possibly hunting. If you have any ideas, that would be great. That's kind of big. Oh, I think it's kind of cool. Milled out for a red dot. Adjustable rear sight. It's actually awesome. It's not really that big though. Yeah, definitely could be used in Wisconsin for hunting. It's not that big. What is she talking about? The fuck? It's not that cold in here. This is fucking bull. This is the stupidest fucking gun I've ever fucking seen Glock made. What in the fuck would you make a gun this big for without putting it in like 50 cal or 44 mag? This needs to be recalled. You, Glock. Today on the table I have the Glock 40. It's actually kind of funny because when the customer called looking to trade this firearm in, he's like, hey man, I want to trade in my Glock 40. I'm like, oh, you mean like the Glock 22? He's like, no, the Glock 40. I'm like, I was getting confused because I thought he meant the Glock 40 caliber. But really, that just so happens to be the model number.
This is my Glock 40. This is my problem solver right here.
Recognized that there was a Glock in there. And he makes the comment, like out loud to the whole shop, which is a small shop, that the Glock 40 is the best Glock ever. In fact, it's the best handgun in the world. So I say, okay, which model? And he goes, like, looks at me like I'm retarded, and goes, the 40. And I'm like, what about the 35?
At least I'm not the only one that got confused by the model number. One of the dumbest decisions I have ever seen Glock do, aside from making this firearm in the first place. And I say that for a reason, because this firearm just doesn't have a home. It doesn't fit any role very well.
We're all misfits!
Now I'll explain that. This thing is massive. I have a full-size SIG P320, which is massive, and it dwarfs it. Look at that, that's ridiculous. Here's something else you can compare it against. Single actions. They're big. And it's got barely a longer barrel length. If it had a 4.75 barrel on this single action, it would be about the same length. And it's about the same in height. Now, it is milled out for an RMR, which is pretty cool because you can put on a red dot without having to worry about it, which would be awesome if this was set up for a competition handgun, but it's not. If it was a 9mm, yeah, then you'd be looking at the competition world. But as a 10mm, that makes no sense. You want to go with the least amount of recoil as possible so you can send down shots faster. So this puts it out of the competition world. It's never going to work for that. So then you're like, well, you know, it's got an adjustable rear sight, milled out for an RMR, it's longer, great hunting gun. But for real, like, why wouldn't they chop the barrel off like right here? You might get, what, a couple extra feet per second? Lucky Gunner did testing on different barrel lengths on pistol calibers, and they really don't make that big of a difference.
Is that the carbine by far had the highest velocities, but going from the 4-inch barrels to the 6-inch Taurus, there is not as much of an increase as you might expect. There are some similar things going on with the Magnum loads. The 4-inch Model 28 is not showing much better velocities than the 3-inch Model 66.
It's not worth it because you probably die, like say you were to take this bear hunting, trying to get this out, dealing with this big long barrel over not having a shorter barrel length 10mm not penetrate. And for something this long, you might as well just go with the Desert Eagle and go with like a 50 AE. I mean, you're right into the same length ballpark.
Do not go in there!
Now, if you're considering purchasing this firearm, say you're like, okay, barrel length is not an issue for me. That's actually what I want for whatever reason. Maybe I'm not going to holster it. Maybe I'm just going to be in a stand and it's going to be right there on the shelf, so it don't matter. I just want it to be a 10 mil, the longest possible barrel, milled out for an RMR. You know, this way I got a red dot for quick shots. And if I don't put an RMR on there, an adjustable rear sight so I can really dial it in. Be careful when you order this because there's two different part numbers. One of the main reasons the customer wanted to get rid of this one is because you ordered the wrong part number and you got 10 round magazines. Instead of, I believe it's 15. Now, your magazine release is bigger. From your normal shooting position, yeah, it still can't hit it. Well, I can't anyway. I gotta take my middle finger, slide the firearm over, and then I can hit the magazine. Changeable back straps. It does come with a case, which is very important for these longer firearms because you're not going to carry them on you. You want a case to transport it. You do get an accessory rail, which also I think is pretty much useless for competition or hunting. Unless, of course, you're doing like coyote hunting where you need a flashlight to see it. But I just don't really see a point in it. The trigger, just standard Glock. Everything inside of this, standard Glock, which at the price they sell those for, I want a good trigger. I want this to be set up for hunting. A nice, smooth, light trigger so I can make very accurate shots and put them in a good spot on whatever I'm shooting, whether deer, bear, doesn't really matter. Trigger break. It breaks clean. Here's your reset. It's average. I mean, it's like a non-seasoned steak. There's nothing special about it. What this firearm's designed for, or what it's supposed to be for, it should have a far better trigger in it, a far crisper reset. It should be a little bit lighter. It's just average. It's just standard Glock trigger. And I just don't really see a purpose for this gun. I mean, like I said, if I'm going to go that big, I'm going to go with like a 44 mag or a Desert Eagle, you know, get a 50. But that's just my thoughts on it. I mean, I'm sorry if you came to this video and you purchased this firearm and you wanted me to rave about it, but it's just not a gun I'm excited about at all.
I'm so sorry. I yelled, I raised my voice, I lost control. Please open up.
But thank you for watching. Leave in the comments below if you own one of these, what you think of it, and if you would purchase it again, and why. Don't forget to subscribe. If any of you would like to drop $1 in the hat to help me work towards a new laptop because mine's going to crash pretty soon, I started a Patreon account. And thank you for the Patreons that are already there. You guys are like the building blocks to something great. You're like the bottom floor of a 2-story outhouse. Without you, everything would just go to shit.